Okay, today's homework we are looking at the graphing calculator method. I'm going to show you two different ways to write a quadratic equation. So the first thing is we have our model here. So we have a bunch of rectangles here. So we have size 1, size 2, size 3, size 4. So to write our equation when we're giving the different models here, what we want to do first is find a perfect square. So we're going to look for a perfect square. Size 1, we want it to be 1 by 1. So looking for a perfect square that's 1 by 1. So now see how we have a perfect square 1 by 1. Alright, so that's size 1. Size 2, we're going to have a perfect square that's 2 by 2. Alright, so 1 by 1, 2 by 2, 3 by 3. So 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 3 by 3. Size 4, it's going to be 4 by 4. So we found our perfect squares. So we just look at these, we highlight our perfect squares. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have our perfect squares. 1 by 1, 2 by 2, 3 by 3, and 4 by 4. And now we look at, well, what did we add extra to the length and what did we add extra to the width? Alright, so what was added extra to the length and width? Well, when we look at this example, we know we have 1, 2, 3, 4 extra columns. And then look at size 1 and size 2, it's still 4 extra columns, 4 extra columns, and 4 extra columns. So for all of the lengths or the widths, we had 4 extra columns here. And then the other side, each time we had 1 extra column or 1 extra row. So we had 4, so we find what was added for the length and the width. So we can say the length, we had 4 extra, so this number is going to change, so 4 extra, and width, we had 1 extra. So the way that we're going to write this is it's always going to be, this is all going to stay the same, so we know that our perfect square is going to be x and x. So since our perfect square is x and x, we're going to have x plus the length in parentheses and x plus the width in parentheses. So we find our perfect squares. Then we determine what was added to the length and the width. So we had 4 and 1. So we had 4 extra, 1 extra, and it's going to be x plus the length, x plus the width. So our answer for this one, it's going to be x plus, well, the length we said was 4, so it's going to be x plus 4. The width is going to be x plus 1. Now that is looking at when you're given rectangles, because you can find the perfect squares in the rectangles. The second method that we're going to work on is the graphing calculator. Now it's going to write the equation in standard form. So we can use this and make a table, because we can say size 1, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we know that the area is 10. Size 2, we can just count them and we know that the area is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 by 3 is going to be 18. Size 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 by 4, so 7 times 4 is 28. And then size 4, we will count this, it's 8 by 5, which is 40. So we have our sizes and our areas. And now if we notice this, so it goes plus 8, plus 10, plus 12. Well, these are not the same, but the second constant difference is plus 2. So we know that we have a quadratic equation. So most of the stuff we're going to work with is quadratics. we're looking at that second constant difference, which is plus 2. So for these steps, so the first thing we have to do is determine the function. So now we looked at it and we know that this is quadratic. So we have to determine the function. So after we figure out what the function is, we're going to use our graphing calculator. If you don't have one at home, you can look online for one. You can download the app, or in class, we have them provide for you. So what we want to do is we're at our home screen. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the stat button. So the stat button is right here. It's under the delete next to the arrows. So we hit stat. So we press the stat button. So we determine the function, then we press the stat button. Now in there we have a whole lot of functions in here. So we can edit, sort, clear, setup, calculate, test. So we want to edit so we can enter our data. So we can either push 1 or press enter. So we edit. So we press stat and then enter. So we press enter to edit. So we press stat and then enter to edit. So once we're in here, I have some lists. I'm going to clear them out. We'll go over. So I just go up, I clear out my numbers. And now I type in the values. So in list 1, I'm going to type in 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's just 1, 2, 3, 4. So I type in list 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I go over to list 2 and I type in 10, 18, 28, and 40. So we determine the function, we press stat and enter to edit, and then we type in the numbers. Type in the numbers for list 1 and 2. So we always want it to be list 1 and 2 for the next step to make it a lot easier. So once we have them in list 1 and list 2, now we need to calculate the data, okay? So to calculate it, we're going to go back. All right, so to calculate, we're going to press stat again. So we press stat. So we go back and we press that stat key, but now we want to actually arrow over to the calculate. So we have that function right there that says calculate, so we want to arrow over to calculate. So we press the stat, then arrow to calc. And now once you get in here, we have all of our lists that we can do. So we have 1 variable stats, 2 variable stats. So number 4, it's a linear regression. That is for our linear equation. Number 5 is for a quadratic regression, which is for our quadratic equation. And if we keep going down, number 0 is for our exponential regression, so our exponential equation. So what we want to do is we want to determine what type of function we have, and we said we had a quadratic function. All right, so we had quadratic. So when we go here, we want number 5 for quadratic, so we go to number 5 and we hit enter. And then it gives us our list 1 is list 1, list 2, and we go down to calculate, we hit enter, and it gives us our equation. So once we get here, we press stat, arrow over to calculate, and select the function and hit enter. Now with this one here, it says y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. So our equation, it says y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, and then we are going to plug in the values for a. So now we're going to say the value of a is 1, so it's going to be 1x squared. The value of b is 5, so we're going to say plus 5x, and the value of c is 4, so plus 4. And that's another way to get the equation. Now, if you notice, these are in different forms. This one we're going to talk about is factored form, and the bottom one is in standard form. They both mean the exact same thing. And we will work more on this tomorrow.